I remember that lunch as if it were yesterday. The restaurant buzzed around us, yet time seemed to slow down when my wife dropped the bomb. She wanted a divorce. "I found someone else," she said, her tone indifferent, as if our shared life meant nothing. I barely registered the words, feeling my heart shatter as I looked across the table. Then came the unthinkable. My mother began laughing. Her laughter echoed around the room, joined by my wife's mocking chuckle. I sat frozen, humiliated, as strangers' eyes burned into my back. I had always believed in our simple life. I made a modest living, and we had enough. But deep down, I knew she craved more. In that crushing moment, I felt not only betrayed but exposed. Why? I managed to choke out, but the question was met only with cold laughter and the click of cutting remarks. I left that lunch feeling smaller than I had ever been, every step heavy with shame and despair. Walking the busy street alone, I couldn't escape the brutal reality. My life had just become a public spectacle. As I passed reflective windows, I saw the pain in my own eyes and wondered if I'd ever be enough. Amid the chaos, a kind coworker with gentle eyes caught my attention. Her quiet concern, "Are you okay?" offered a small spark of hope. I wasn't sure what the future held, but that moment hinted that perhaps I could rise from this ruin. The next day at work, whispers of my divorce swirled like a storm. Every corridor held eyes full of pity or judgment. The memory of that humiliating lunch, my wife's cold declaration, and my mother's cruel laughter was now public knowledge. But amid the harsh glances and murmurs, one person shone through, a coworker whose warm smile and sincere concern cut through the gloom. "Hey, are you all right?" she asked softly as we crossed paths in the office hallway. Her gentle eyes, filled with empathy, made me feel seen as a person rather than a broken man. During our lunch breaks, her presence became my refuge. We spoke quietly about work pressures and personal struggles. Unlike those who measured my worth by status or fortune, she valued who I was deep down. Yet every day reminded me of my past humiliation, snide comments and cold looks that whispered, "You're not enough." Even as I leaned on her, the pain of that moment lingered. After a particularly long day, she invited me for a quiet coffee in a corner of the office. "I care about you for who you are," she said, placing her hand on mine. Those words sparked hope amid the darkness, even as old ghosts haunted my thoughts. In the weeks following that fateful lunch, my life at work felt like walking a tightrope. Every smile, every nod, reminded me of the shame I carried. I buried myself in projects, trying desperately to prove I was more than the man who had been publicly humiliated. Yet every step was haunted by echoes of laughter and memories of betrayal. My coworker became a beacon in my storm. In our long after-work talks in the quiet of the empty office corridors, I poured out my doubts and fears. Maybe I was never enough, I'd confess, and she'd shake her head gently, "You are enough, more than you know." Her kindness began to mend the fractures in my heart, even as I grappled with the painful memories of that day. One cold evening, while walking home under a dim streetlight, I felt a pair of eyes tracking my every move. I quickened my pace, heart pounding, only to find the street empty. The sensation of being watched left me on edge, an omen of the escalating dangers in my life. At home, I sat among old photographs of better days, haunted by the ghosts of humiliation and betrayal. Then, my phone buzzed with a message hinting at secrets deeper than I had ever imagined. I never expected the phone call that shattered my remaining illusions. My mother's voice, once a comforting lull, now carried a weight I had never known. "There's something you must know," she said softly, and during our conversation, she unraveled the mystery of our hidden fortune. I learned that she was a millionaire, a silent partner in Giglo, the top cosmetic brand in the country. Her confession was startling. "I kept our wealth a secret so you'd learn to value yourself for who you are, not for what you have," she explained, her tone a mix of regret and pride. Suddenly, the memory of her laughter that awful day transformed from cruelty to a twisted lesson meant to harden me. The stakes of my humiliation soared as I confronted a truth that rewrote my past. Questions churned in my mind. Had she orchestrated everything to prepare me for this revelation? My heart pounded as I grappled with the burden of this new legacy. Before I could process further, a knock sounded at my door. My pulse raced. What new twist would this bring? In the days after my mother's revelation, I felt like I was in a battlefield of emotions. Every mirror reflected a man who was both broken and reborn. The weight of public humiliation still haunted me, but beneath it lay a newfound power, a legacy I never knew existed. My coworker's unwavering support became a lifeline. In our quiet after-hours chats in my modest apartment, her soft words and caring eyes made me believe that my worth was defined not by past failures, but by potential. "You deserve to lead a life that reflects who you really are," she said, and slowly, I began to see myself in a new light. One evening, I received a crisp envelope slid under my door. Inside was a letter from my mother explaining everything. Her harsh methods were meant to teach me strength. That night, as I stared out over the city skyline, my phone rang. The board of Jiglo had made a shocking announcement. My mother would now step forward as the silent partner, and I was named the new CEO. In that moment, the man who had been ridiculed was offered an empire, a destiny rewriting itself. News spread fast. Soon, the entire country knew of my unexpected rise. Headlines screamed, "From scandal to CEO, the untold rise of an overlooked man." I watched in disbelief as the broadcast celebrated my transformation, while miles away, my ex-wife's world was crumbling. Once the architect of my public humiliation, she now faced the consequences of her ambition. I saw her on television, her face a blend of desperation and regret. Once used to controlling the narrative, she now appeared diminished, struggling to maintain a facade of relevance. In one interview, she admitted that life after our divorce had been a downward spiral. Desperate, she even tried to reinsert herself into my life, seeking to sabotage my new beginnings. That day, as I strolled past a busy street on my way to Jiglo headquarters, I caught a glimpse of her, a symbol of envy and ruin. I knew then that karma had spoken. I had grown beyond the man she once knew, and there was no turning back. With scandal behind me, I focused on rebuilding both my reputation and my heart. Now at the helm of Jiglo, the boardrooms and media interviews were mine to command. But it was the warmth of my coworker that gave my new life true meaning. Her support had evolved into a deep, personal connection, one that made the painful past fade into the background. One evening, over a quiet dinner at a cozy, dimly lit diner, we talked about our dreams and the unpredictable twists of life. "I never cared about money or status," she confessed softly, her eyes glistening with sincerity. I realized that true love was built on genuine understanding, not on superficial measures. Yet, even as I embraced this new beginning, the specter of my ex-wife lingered. Her desperate attempts to reclaim lost power were a painful reminder of what I had overcome. Settling into my new role came with heightened scrutiny. In board meetings and press conferences, I faced the ruthless corporate world head-on. Rumors and hidden agendas swirled, but I remained resolute. My ex-wife, unwilling to let go of the past, made attempts to disrupt my progress, reaching out through mutual acquaintances and even appearing uninvited at Jiglo events. During a high-profile press conference, as I confidently outlined my vision for the company, I spotted her in the audience, a symbol of desperation amid my triumphant rise. Her presence, captured by relentless cameras, turned my personal journey into a headline story of poetic justice. I realized that every moment of humiliation had led me to this very stage of power and vindication. Despite my achievements, the ghosts of my past still haunted me. Anonymous messages threatened to expose deeper family secrets and jeopardize the legacy of Jiglo. I convened a secret meeting with trusted board members and my closest allies. In that hushed conference room, I examined documents that revealed a network of betrayal and corruption, proof that my journey was more than personal, it was a fight for justice. The memory of my ex-wife's desperate plea to reclaim lost power resurfaced. Her voice had once been filled with cruelty, and now it echoed in my mind as I vowed never to let my past dictate my future. That night, under a starry sky, I walked home determined to confront these challenges and protect my hard-won legacy. The turning point came on a bright morning when the news broke. I was officially named the CEO of Jiglo, announced by none other than my mother. The broadcast celebrated my rise from scandal to success, while my ex-wife's attempts to reclaim her former life crumbled into insignificance. For the first time, I felt free, reborn from betrayal and heartbreak into a future built on truth and genuine love. At a press event held in a sleek corporate setting, I embraced my new role with humility and determination. The cameras captured every confident step I took, while my supportive coworker stood by me, a living symbol of hope and authentic connection. My ex-wife's desperate attempts to disrupt my newfound happiness were now a distant memory, a cautionary tale of greed and shallow ambition fading into obscurity. As the sun rose over the city, I stepped forward into my destiny. My life was transformed, and the bitter taste of the past had given way to the promise of a brighter future.